Hello, I thought I'd take just a moment and help move the conversation related to document accessibility through the website or portal forward, just so that we can kind of focus on where the issues owners are encountering may be happening. And I think sometimes it's important to note that the association has both a website and a portal, and I'm not always sure that owners are clearly differentiating between the two. And so let me just start by showing you the website, and then I'll show you the portal. On the website, and at this point, we are not logged in. So this is something that anybody on the internet, regardless of whether they live at Avalon or not, have access to. And so this is very much kind of focused on the outside world. And you can kind of tell that by just looking at your menu options that yes, there is a login to the owner portal, but the rest of these things, governing documents, realtor information, construction approvals, they're very much focused on folks that may be looking at Avalon prospectively, but don't actually own there yet. And so we'll come back to the homeowner portal, but like here, governing documents, you're going to find them by clicking on that option. They are a little bit convoluted, but that is reflective of the way the documents have been recorded. There had been a conversation after we got the things back from Kaiser Black where they condensed all of this stuff so that, like, here's the Avalon documents versus the links versus the masters, or et cetera. And so instead of having like a document and 6 or 7 amendments, they put all of those documents together in a single document and the amendments just follow chronologically. That might be easier on this page, but governing documents are here. Realtor information is really just driving owners that are looking for information, particularly about the subs. And these bits of information are really only as current as the information that's given to us. So there may be elements of this that need to be updated and we just don't know it. But these are the subs. So that's the realtor information, construction approval. Just leads to those construction related documents, and then helpful links. There are some things regionally that are put here. So that is the website. Pretty basic stuff. There's really only like a half a dozen pages, and then otherwise you're being directed from the homeowner's perspective over to the portal. And so I'm going to now bring the portal screen over to show you. And this is just a random owner. And so we've logged in as the portal. And at this point, this is the dashboard. You all will recognize this as looking a lot like your portal. The only difference is because it is just a regular owner and not a board member or a community leader, the the there are not as many options. So, under social group, you don't have that board tab that you all are accustomed to seeing. So this is the dashboard for finding resources. Pretty much most everything that an owner is going to want to locate by way of information they're seeking is going to happen in the calendar or the document or directory. It's going to kind of happen in these options, but I'll roll through them real quick. So this is the dashboard. A number of these links, like to new request and new reservation, will mirror over here. So if I click on new request, you're going to recognize that this screen here, let me go back to the home screen, and instead of clicking on this new request, I'm going to click on this one here for request. It's the same screen. And so in a number of instances, there are different links, but they lead you to the same place. But let's look specifically at documents, because I think there have been some occasions where owners have said, I can't find the meeting minutes. Well, they're going to be here under the folder labeled meeting minutes. And so the meeting minute folders are categorized by annual meeting, board meeting, committee meeting, and draft. So, for example, the board meeting, um, well, the most recent annual meeting, which is the January 22nd, it is in a draft folder because until it gets acted on at next year's meeting, it is here as a draft, and but it is still available for owners to see. So here is the meeting minutes from January. Um, Going back to the document folder and going back into meeting minutes, if I'm interested particularly in board meetings, with the exception of the most recent board meeting, which is going to be in that draft folder waiting on its approval, I can find virtually all of these documents here in folders calendared by year. So for example, if we look to 2025, you will see March, June, and September. You will likely notice that, well, wait, where's December? We approved that last night. And you are correct. That is in process, and by probably the end of the day, you will see it move from the draft folder to the permanent folder. But that's where you would find the board meeting minutes. Annual meeting minutes are similar. The only real difference is, of course, there's usually only one of those. So for example, um, the 2025 meeting for annual meeting, which would have been the minutes you just approved, would be found here. And so that's what that window looks like. And so you can see these are the January of 25, and those minutes are there. Um, Calendar and events, sometimes folks will get confused because you have a community calendar and an amenity calendar, and they may not always be the same. And what I mean by that is you can have a community event that doesn't necessarily require reserving an amenity, like we're all going to go out to dinner in town. Well, that doesn't need to reserve anything on premise, but you might want to announce it to let neighbors know that it's happening. Or an annual meeting would be an example of that. If we're meeting at the venue, that doesn't reserve anything at Avalon, but it is something we would want to put on the community calendar. So community calendars are things everyone's invited to. Amenity calendar is a calendar where we're scheduling an event to be dedicated to a specific use. Some events are going to be on both calendars, and some events are going to be only on one or the other. If you're having a private party at the community center, it's an amenity calendar, but not a community calendar. And so you can see those calendars in here. What I like to do on the calendar view, you can come in here and decide you want to look at the community center, and you have to select your facility and type. Um, I find it easiest to hit this agenda view. I mean, you can look at days and weeks and months like you might normally on a calendar, but the agenda view just takes all the empty days out and just shows you sequentially through the month what days are reserved and for what times. And so, and from this screen, you can enter a new request as a reservation request. And you'll notice as you toggle between these different options, the form that you're being asked to fill out changes to align with the nature of the request you're making. So a reservation calendar is very much about a calendar, and an architectural request is talking more about what it is you're trying to modify. So calendar and event, documents, those are key. The associated HOA is basically repeating the same information that we have out on the main website, but it too is only as current as the updates we receive. That is also true of the social groups. The ones that we're most directly driving are calendar and events, directory, and documents. Directory is pretty straightforward. Here, an owner can find the committees, they can find the homeowners, and if the homeowner's elected to share their phone number or their email or both, that's available here. Sometimes people will ask, how do they go about sharing that? That is from the portal. Just go to your My Profile and indicate your account preferences. And at your account preferences, you can indicate that you want or don't want to show things in the portal. Our default is to not show phone numbers and emails unless the owner actively selects to do that, because we don't want to discourage an owner from giving us an email or a telephone so that the association can communicate with them, because they're afraid of all of a sudden getting blown up with messages um, from everyone in the neighborhood. So that's just a quick overview. And if there are specific ways or specific things folks are struggling to find, we would certainly be interested in understanding that. But as far as finding meeting minutes and those sorts of documents on the portal, financials are another one the same way. You can go in here and you just follow down uh, to the year you're looking at and the month you want to see. So if there's an easier way to display that, we would certainly be open to knowing more about it. But in the meantime, I thought it might just be helpful for everyone to just get a flyover view of what is out there, where it is, and how to find it. So look forward to continuing that conversation and hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.